Hello, I'm Eric Freeland, and we'll be going over this week's discussion post for the importance of standard operating procedures. For me today, I'm going over what is a local case for me. I was actually working this day. However, I was not one of the ones who went to this scene. Um, this is going to be NTSB's report number ERA20FA06. It's involving a Mustang 2. The accident itself happened on January 25th, 2020, as a result of aircraft structural failure, and it resulted in the fatality of both the pilot and a young juvenile passenger. The pilot was a 43-year-old male who held a ATP certificate. He also had all of his instructor certificates from single engine, instrument, and multi-engine. He was rated to fly both single and multi-engine aircraft. He was on a current Class 1 medical and had an estimated 11,000 total time and 55 hours in the Mustang 2. So, in the course of the investigation, the FAA determined that the pilot, um, he did not own the aircraft. A friend owned it that let him fly it whenever he wanted to. Um, it was stated that a week before the accident, the pilot flew the aircraft, and in the course of that flight, exceeded the aircraft's never to exceed speed of 230 miles per hour. Um, and in that flight he did exceed it by 20 to 25 miles per hour. Um, Nothing happened that day. They came back and landed, and then this flight happened. Um, During the incident for this date that the accident happened, there are two videos that were taken by witnesses that showed that the pilot was doing barrel rolls and other aerobatic maneuvers. But during those barrel rolls, which was the last thing he did before the aircraft ultimately fell apart, was he did 6 total barrel rolls. And then shortly after those barrel rolls were over, the vertical stabilizer became detached and the canopy became separated from the aircraft. It was noted that based off of the trail of the parts and pieces, the vertical stabilizer was the first one to drop farthest away from the aircraft, followed by the canopy, which was still locked and secured into its functional state. So it had basically just ripped off of the fuselage, still locked. And when all of this transpired, it basically caused the aircraft to go nose down into a dive, where it ultimately collided with the ground. The reason why operating procedures are so important, because in this case, had the pilot followed the operating procedures as far as not to exceed the never exceed speed on the previous flight, it's potential that he could have done it as well as on this flight as well. Um, and a combination also too with exceeding the G's that the aircraft could take doing those aerobatic maneuvers. Um, the NTSB ultimately did find that the pilot was at fault due to the aircraft exceeding the airspeed capabilities, which ultimately led to the structural failure. This is the resource to get access to the NTSB article for the accident itself. And this one, hits really close to home just because it is a crash that happened close by. I got to hear a lot of the details with it, before the National Transportation Safety Board showed up, as well as some follow-up stuff that came after it. It's a really sad situation, especially because as a pilot, it's your responsibility at the end of the day to fly that aircraft safely, and it's unfortunate that a pilot as skilled as this one, you know, did something that shouldn't have been done, which ultimately led to the accident that we have here, and that this entire thing could have been avoided had he followed the procedures that the manufacturer for that experimental kit had put in place. They both would still be here today. So this was completely avoidable had those steps been followed in an appropriate manner. But that's my presentation for this week, and we'll talk to you guys later.